which we'll do later. So today, first of all, I would like to introduce you people to web services. Yeah. So here, what do you people think? I'm just curious to know from you people about the web services. What do you know about web services? Websites. Okay. Okay. You know, yes. Here, when we talk about service, yes, payment gateways. But these are all examples which are given here. Let's see how to define a web service. Okay, yes. Before that, just give me 1 minute, please. 1 minute. Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, fine. Let's start. So here, web services are self-describing and modular business applications that expose business logic as services for the internet through programmable interfaces and using internet protocols for the purpose of providing is to find, subscribe, remote those services. So this is very important definition actually. So you'll find that basically, yes, a web services are self-descriptive modular business applications. Yes, they are self-descriptive. We'll see what do I mean by this self-descriptive here. They expose business logic. A web service basically has got, you can say that it has got piece of business logic. A web service, in other words, I can say that it is a business component which holds business logic, okay, which can be accessed over the internet. Yes, through the programmable interfaces and using internet protocols. Yes, you know what? Here, the internet protocols like HTTP, it plays a key role in web services. It plays a key role in web services, I can say. Yes. So basically this protocol, this internet protocols will help you to access these services, web services. Okay. Yes. Not only accessing them, you can search for these web services through the internet, access them and consume them, or use them. Yes. You know, a web service is it's a piece of, I can say that in simple terms, I can say that web service is a piece of business logic or it's a business component, I'm sorry, which contains business logic. It is accessible over the web through standards based internet protocols. Here, it's a very simple definition. A web service contains piece of business logic, I can say, which is exposed over the web, which is accessible over the web through internet protocols. Yes. So first of all, can you people tell me, it's very important to understand the difference between a component and a service. As per my knowledge, you have to be able to clearly differentiate what is a component and what is a service. First of all, what do I mean by component here? What do you people think? What is a component? Component means just business logic, that's it. It need not be business logic. Component means what? Component means Component means a reusable piece of code. Okay, you can say that it is nothing but it's actually a reusable piece of code. That is what a component is actually. Okay, yes. And you will find that here, say you got a Java component. So I've developed a component in Java. So component is reusable piece of code, right? Yes. Let's say I have developed a component in Java. So if I develop a component in Java, you know what? Here, can we access this Java component from a .NET application? Can we access this Java application from a .NET application? No, it is not possible. We cannot do that. Okay? Yes. You know, if you got a Java component, then definitely you cannot access it using .NET application, because platform components are always specific, like platform dependent and language dependent, I can say. Though they are reusable itself, but still they're actually platform dependent and language dependent. Components are platform and language dependent. That's the problem with the platform, with the components. Okay, fine. I'm sorry. Now we'll talk about a service. We'll talk about a service. I can say that component is a reusable piece of code which is platform and language dependent. The service is also a reusable piece of code which is platform and language independent. The platform and language independent. Okay, yes. Fine. So, you know, now we are talking about service. Service is language independent as well as platform independent. That means, let's say if I develop a service in Java, can I access it in .NET application using a .NET application? Can I access it using a .NET application? Yes, it is possible. Okay, so it is definitely possible. You can do that. Whereas a component, if you develop a component in Java, yes, you cannot access it using a .NET application. Not only .NET, but any other application. It's not possible. Only Java applications will be able to access them. Okay, only Java applications will be able to access them. Yes. So here you'll find that the services are actually known as web services. Web services. And that means here web service means, it's actually a reusable component, I can say, which is accessible, which is platform independent, language independent, which can be accessed over the web, or which can be accessed over the web. Okay, it can be accessed over the web through the standard internet protocols. You can access it over the web using standard internet protocols. Okay, yes. So here you see, if we consider a component and a service, we consider a component and service. Which one is more reusable? Which one is more reusable? We consider a component and a service. Which one is more reusable? The service is more reusable. Okay. Yes. The service will be more reusable compared to the component, because it can be accessed from many different applications. It can be accessed from a remote machine, from a remote place. There won't be any restrictions in this, right? Yeah. So here, now the question is, how do we develop a web service in Java? How to develop a web service in Java? How to develop a web service in Java? You'll find that there are many different APIs and frameworks which we can use to develop a web service using Java. So here in Java, we got an API called as JAX-WS. We got an API called as JAX-WS. Java API for XML binding. JAX-WS stands for Java API for XML binding. Sorry, not binding. Java API for XML web services. Java API for XML web services. Java API for XML web services. So this is one API, JAX-WS. So apart from that, you'll find that we have frameworks as well. Access to is one framework. Access to is a framework. Apart from access to, we got CFX. So CXF, I'm sorry, not CFX. Apache access to an Apache. Actually, the APIs and frameworks which I'm listing down here, they're all SOAP-based web services. Web services, again, further, they can be classified into two types. Web services can be classified into two types actually. Okay, yes. One is SOAP-based web services, the other one is RESTful web services. Okay, one is SOAP-based web services, and the other one is RESTful web services here. Yes. So, you know what, here you will find that SOAP-based web services, they use a protocol called a SOAP protocol. They're actually based on the protocol called as SOAP. Okay, yes. First of all, we'll talk about this web services itself. Okay, so based web services. Now, here you'll find that Apache. First of all, we'll start with access to framework. Apache access to framework. Okay, yes, an Apache access to framework is actually provided by Apache itself. You know Apache, right? So people who provided web services, sorry, web server and Struts frameworks. Apache is also responsible for Struts frameworks. They have also provided Struts framework actually. Okay. Yes, the same people they're actually providing this access to framework also. They also provided CXF, but we'll not be talking about CXF here. We'll be discussing about access to and XWS. Hello? Yeah, I'm sorry, I think I lost the connection for a while. Yeah. So what I was saying is that Apache has provided access to framework as well as CXF framework, but we'll be only talking about access to framework in the XWS. Okay, and then we'll discuss about RESTful web services. Fine. So now, first of all, here we'll start our discussion with access to how to develop a web service using access to framework. Okay, how to develop a web service using access to framework, and not only developing it, how to consume it as well. How to consume access to, sorry, how to consume a web service using access to. Okay, how to consume a web service using access to. Yes, fine. So first of all, here um, we got some basic things which we have to understand before we move any further. Okay. Yes, what is it? I said basically web services are language independent, platform independent, right? Yes. If you develop a web service in Java, yes, you can access it in .NET using the .NET application. You can access it using a .NET application. That is possible. But how it works actually? How it works? That is what you need to understand. Okay, let's see. So, here, let's say if you consider two different applications, how it is possible for them to communicate. Let's say I got a web service. Let's say this is a Java web service, which is developed using Java. And there is a client for this web service. Client means the application which wants to access this web service. Let's say there is a .NET web service client. Oh, okay. So I got Java web service. Sorry. And then we got a .NET web service client. It's a client application. Web service client means web service client means what? Yes, the application which consumes the web services or which will avail the services of a web service. Okay, which will avail the services of a web service. Yes, find the application which consumes a web service. Consuming web service means which accesses a web service, I can say, which avails the services of a web service. Okay, fine. Now here, these are two different applications, right? So one is Java application, the other one is .NET application. One application is a Java application, the other one is a .NET application. So these are two different applications. How they can communicate with each other? Yes, they are two different applications. First place, how they can communicate with each other. That's the first question. It's difficult, right? You know what? This is something like two people, speaking two different languages. Let's say you got two people, two persons. Okay, one is, let's say, a German, the other one is a French. Okay, if they, let's say, German person is only aware of German, let's say, German language, he or she can only speak German, let's say, and there is French guy who can only speak French, let's say. So if that is the case, then how they can communicate with each other? It's difficult for them to directly interact with each other, right? To communicate with each other. Yes, right? So what do you do generally in that case? What is needed? If there are two persons and if they can't, really communicate with each other because the language which they speak is not common. The language which they speak is not common, right? That's a problem here. In that case, how they can communicate? Very good. Yes. We need a translator. I'm not expecting this answer. A translator. Translator. What the translator does? Translator, will act as a mediator between the French and German guy. Okay. Yes. Here. So what's the responsibility of the translator? See, translator, let's say, if the German guy speaks, the translator will listen, will understand that, and will accordingly convert that speech, German speech, into French. Okay, and convey that message to the French guy. Okay, yes. And sometimes you may have translators for each person. The German guy may have a translator, even a French guy may have a translator. You see, whatever the the German guy has got a translator, and even the French guy got a translator, right? Yes. Whatever the speech you got, which is spoken by the German guy, so that speech will be accordingly translated to English, let's say. The translator, German guy translator, will convert that speech into English. Then this German guy translator will convey that message to the French guy translator. The French translator, okay, will take that speech which is interpreted in English and then accordingly convert it into French. Then convey that message which is in French, the speech which is in French. Then this translator, French translator, can provide that speech in French to the French person. Yes. So this way, actually the translators will play a key role, right? The translators will play a key role here in this case. For helping people who don't have a common language, right? You know what? Here, the same kind of concept is used in the web services also. You know, similar concept, a kind of translators concept is also used in web services. You know, you can consider Java web services as one person, okay, who is familiar with a particular language. And now you got another person, the .NET web service client, let's say is another person. So these are two different applications now, which represents each person, let's say each person. Let's say these two applications, you know that they're different. They don't have anything in common. Okay. So the thing is, it is difficult for them to communicate. So this is where, you know, proxies come into picture. Proxies. You'll find that you got something called as proxies. You'll find that there's something called as proxies. So proxies will actually help the applications to communicate with each other. A web service, you know, the capability of the web service is that it can take the request which is placed by any application. How? With the help of the proxy itself. The help of the proxy itself. Okay, yes. So I will show you that here. Let's see how a web service works. Let's say we say you got a web service which is developed in Java. In the web service, what you'll have basically, what did I say? In the web service, what do we have? What do we got? In the web service, we got business logic, that's right. And that is written in Java. Okay, and generally you know that the business logic here, it is actually written in method. Always in Java, business logic where it is defined inside a method, right? Where it is defined inside a method. Yes. So here, you see, there is a .NET client which is interested in that method which contains that business logic. And the .NET client wants to call that web service method. But you know, a .NET application, it is not capable of calling a method which is defined in Java. It won't be able to do that. Okay, so that's the reason why you know what the Java .NET application does. It will call the method, a proxy method. Okay, it will call a method on the proxy. Okay, the proxy will take that method call. The .NET client will call the method according to the .NET syntax. The .NET client will try to call that method according to the .NET syntax itself. .NET client only knows how to call a method in .NET, right? Yes. So it will accordingly call that method according to the .NET here. Okay. Yes. According to the .NET syntax. Yes. So you will find that here the .NET the proxy will take that method call. Okay. The proxy will take that method call, and then the proxy, what it does here, it will translate that method call into a SOAP request. Yes, it's very important. You know, basically that SOAP request is XML based. Basically, the SOAP request is XML based, and you will find that always the web services here, they exchange the data in the form of XML itself. The standard data representation in web services is XMLWebserv. So here the proxy, what it does, it creates a SOAP request, okay, which is XML message, which contains the details. Okay, yes, which details the method call details. So this SOAP request in turn, it is wrapped in HTTP request. The SOAP request here in turn it is wrapped in HTTP request actually. Okay, it is wrapped in HTTP request, and then it is sent to the proxy on the server side. You know, this proxy, there will be a proxy on the server side also. The server side proxy, what it does, it will take that SOAP request, okay, which is wrapped in HTTP request, and then, you know, here the server side proxy will take that method call. The server side proxy will take that method call, and actually it will translate that method call so the method call details are in the SOAP request. It will read the details and it will translate that method call into appropriate Java method call, okay, and then it will call that business method. The proxy on behalf of the web client, sorry, on behalf of that service client, web services client, it will call that method. And when that method is invoked, what happens? When the method is invoked, you know that here when the method is invoked, the method may return some result or some return value, right? The method, it may return some value. Yes. So now whatever the value the method returns, whatever the value the method returns, this proxy will take that value and then it will translate it, or it will wrap that response, I can say result or response. It will wrap that response in a SOAP response again. So it is XML based again. Whatever the response, you see the service method gives, it gives that response here is translated accordingly here. Okay, the response is accordingly translated. Yes. So you will find that here, once this SOAP response is generated by the proxy, server-side proxy will generate the SOAP response. And what it contains, SOAP response, the response data. And again, the SOAP response is wrapped in HTTP response here. HTTP response, and it is sent back to the proxy on the client side. Now the proxy on the client side will take this HTTP response, which contains a SOAP response, okay, and then it will read the response data from the SOAP response, and what it does here, it will actually translate that SOAP response into appropriate format which your .NET client can understand. It will translate it into appropriate format which your .NET client can understand. Okay, yes. So here the proxy, after translating it into appropriate .NET client representation, it will give that response to the client here, so .NET client. That's it. So this way, you know, the proxies here in the web services, they play a key role. I'll tell you. Yes. So here, you know, you'll find that this way the proxies play a key role in the web services. You know what? Here, this web service, okay, which you got, I said it is developed in Java. So the capabilities are added to this here through the proxy itself. If there is no proxy, then you can think of it as a plain Java object itself. This web service becomes a Java component again if there is no proxy, because proxy itself is capable of taking these details, right? Yes. Yeah. So here the thing is, this business method, the methods, Java methods which we are talking about, the Java methods which we are talking about, actually they're known as operations. In web services terminology, we call them as operations. In the web services terminology, we call them as operations. Okay, operation. Web services terminology, it is known as an operation. Yes. Okay, fine. So here now you have to understand how to transform this Java component into a web service. Okay, you know, the key thing here in the web services is generating this proxies itself. The key thing is actually generating the proxies itself. That is very important. So, for generating this proxies, you'll have the code. Okay, yes. You'll find that here even this frameworks will help you in this regard a lot. The frameworks are going to help you in this regard. Okay, so the thing is here you have to understand the SOAP protocol. You have to understand the SOAP protocol, and then here you have to also understand one more thing, that is WSDL document. WSDL. So you'll find that there is something called as WSDL here, which you need to also concentrate. So first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you people how to develop a web service using access to framework. Okay, and then we'll discuss more about the web services. Okay, I want to show you these things practically so that it will be better for you people to understand easily. Okay, now first of all, here we'll see how to develop a web service using access to. So what is access to here? Access to is actually a web services framework. Access to is actually a web services framework. Now, it is not only serves as a web services framework, but Access to also provides the environment for the web services to execute. Okay, Access to is a web services framework used to develop and consume web services. Access to provides also provides the environment which is needed for running web services. Okay, so the first and foremost thing here, what you have to do is you have to download web services, access to framework libraries. So you have to download access to framework libraries here. That is the first thing. Let's do that. Access to libraries. Just a second. Here, you see, this is a page where you will find the web services. Okay, yes. Here, you have to download the zip file which you're looking at 1.6.2. Download this binary distribution zip file. Please make note of it. This one, binary distribution zip. All of you, please make note of it. So you have to download that zip file. Okay, yes. So after downloading the zip file, you see I got that zip file. I'll show you. You see, you have to extract it. This is the extracted content in that zip file. After downloading it, try to extract it. Okay, yes. So here, you'll find that in the lib directory, you'll find all the jars which are required to work with access to framework. In this lib directory, you'll find all the jars which are needed to work with access to framework here. Okay, yes. So you will find that here this libraries is actually required to work with access to framework. Okay, yes, they're actually required to work with access to framework. You can see yes. So apart from that, here, what else you got? Nothing. These are enough. Now, very important thing here, very important thing. Let's see how to configure this access to framework um, in the Eclipse IDE so that we can use access to framework in the Eclipse IDE to develop web services. Okay, now I'm going to show you people how to configure the access to framework. So please make a note of it. In the Windows, you'll find preferences. What we are doing, we are configuring access to framework here in the Eclipse IDE in such a way that you can use this access to framework in the Eclipse IDE to develop web services. Okay? Yes. Please make a note of it. Here, you select this preferences. In the preferences, see, when you select the preferences, you'll get a pop-up window. Here you'll find web services option. Expand it. You'll find access to preferences. Under the web services, you'll find access to preferences. So you have to select this access to preferences here. Okay, select this access to preferences. When you do this, it will ask you to specify time location. You see, when I select that access to preferences, it is asking me to specify the access to runtime location here. Okay, yes. So what you have to do here, you have to browse to the location where you have extracted that access to libraries which we have downloaded. Where is that access to libraries which you have downloaded? Here it is in this web services. access to. That's it. Click on OK. It says this is the directory where I've extracted that access to libraries. Okay, you have to specify this path, and once you specify the path here, you see what it says. It says access to runtime loaded successfully. Okay, this access to runtime loaded successfully here. Yeah. So this is a message which you have to see. Okay, and then you'll find click on apply here. Click on apply. You'll find just a second. You'll find in the web services section itself, you'll find server and runtime. In the web services, we saw access to preferences. Now you'll find server and runtime. Select this option, server and runtime. So actually as of now, I'm using Tomcat 7. That means I want to run this web services on the Tomcat server 7 because already we have installed it and integrated it with Eclipse IDE. And the web services environment which we want to use is Apache Access to. I want to use Apache Access to Web Services environment. You have to select these two options. Please make a note of it. Okay. This is what you have to do here. Hope you people got it. Or you can click on OK. That's it. So this way you will configure the access to environment, access to here in the Eclipse IDE. So now we are ready to work with access to framework in the Eclipse IDE, I can say. We are ready to work with access to framework in the Eclipse IDE. Okay, so now we can develop a web service using access to. We can consume a web service using access to. Yes, we can do that. Okay. Now we'll actually try to develop a web service. In the next class, I'll show you how to use this Eclipse IDE and access to framework to develop a web service, how to consume it. In this process, we'll also talk about SOAP and WSDL documents, especially we'll be talking about WSDL. Okay, yes, we'll see what is a WSDL document and all such things. But we'll do it tomorrow in the next class. We will meet tomorrow again at the same time, and we'll continue the discussion. Okay, yes. So meet you tomorrow at the same time. Thank you all. Bye bye.